Australia and India are growing ever closer, with strong trade ties being formed between both countries. Currently, we're seeing increasing activity by Indian companies in Australia, and not just in the resources sector. To tell us more about the investment climate in India and how to do business there, we're joined by Payal Mahindroo, head of Blake Dawson Waldron's India practice. She's just attended an Australia-India Youth Dialogue Conference in Mumbai and joins us now from our Sydney CBD studio. Look, thanks very much for your time today. In regards to India, investment climate, I mean, what is it like there at the moment? How much hunger is there for foreign investment?
Thanks, James. Well, I think there's no doubt that there has been an increase by Indian investors into Australia, but not just in Australia. We're looking at Mozambique, South Africa, and Indonesia as well. But there's also equally no doubt that the issues in Europe, but also globally, are having an impact on the Indian investment sentiment. So there's no doubt around that. But I think what's pleasing is that there is still quite a lot of activity from the Indian investors into Australia and other parts of the world.
What about on the other side? I mean, are they very open, I suppose, to foreign investment, Australian investment within their economy? And if so, I mean, what sort of sectors tends to attract, if you like, foreign investments?
Absolutely, and I think with the changes to the foreign direct investment laws that were recently introduced through India, that's opened up a lot of opportunities for foreign investment into India, and particularly you look at sectors like education, pharmaceuticals, information technology, and it goes both ways. I mean, it's you could say the same about the Indian sectors of investment into Australia. But if you look at some of the Australian companies or businesses that have started up in Australia, they're doing very well. They're flourishing. You look at BHP Billiton over there and various other ones. There's definitely a very strong appetite, I think, for foreign investment both ways.
There has been some, previously I suppose, some concerns around the ideas of corporate governance and transparency when doing business in India. I mean, is that still an issue, or is it something that is getting better?
I think it's getting better. Certainly my impression is that there have been a significant number of changes around India's regulatory framework. And I mean, India's business environment is quite heavily regulated when you compare it to Australia's. But I think increasingly we're seeing a lot more transparency in the policy making and the decision making process, and that's opening doors. I think it's making India a very exciting place to look at for investments from all over the world.
And so what are the main drivers of growth in India? I mean, it's such a huge economy, and obviously the world's biggest democracy as well, but we don't really focus on it. We talk a lot about China. What are the main drivers in India?
Sure. I think the three key drivers, in my view, are there's been a rapid urbanisation issue. There's the median age of the population is very low, but also there's the increased competition by India in the world trading space, and I think those three factors have contributed to India's growth, which has also then created an increasing demand in India for resources, and they're looking to countries like Australia to cater to, for example, their energy needs, because there's going to be a shortfall, particularly if India continues to grow at the rates it currently is. I mean, it's growing at more than 8% a year. So there's definitely a need for greater resources and things like infrastructure to support the growth and the huge population in India.
And is there a favourable attitude in India towards Australia, towards investments in Australia?
I think so. I mean, certainly the impression that I had from my recent visit was that they're still very keen to invest in Australia. I mean, cricket jokes aside, there's a very keen interest in the Australian economy. There's a lot of commonalities between Australia and India. I mean, apart from being a Commonwealth system, we're both democracies, and we're very like-minded. In terms of the business culture particularly, my impression is that doing business in India is very similar to the business culture here in Australia. And I mean, certainly I use it to my advantage that I do have an Indian background, and obviously being able to speak the language helps me in my dealings, in my business dealings with Indian people in India, and they find it quite a positive, but it's not critical. And so I guess fundamentally there's so many commonalities between India and Australia that it's Australia's a great place to do business in for Indian and other investors.
All right, Payal Mahindroo, look, appreciate your time today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.